So for those of you that are interested in the summit, you can see that our methylation basics class is on Friday morning, and we have some really great speakers. So Stephanie Fryer-Williams, I really stalked her to do this. She is one of only a handful of researchers in Australia that have actually looked at MTHFR. So she's going to be speaking about the effect of MTHFR and all the B vitamins on psychosis. So how much of an influence does MTHFR and these B vitamins have on mental health? And I can certainly tell you from my perspective, I would say 80% of my patients present with some sort of form of anxiety and or depression. Cortisol, we're very fortunate to have Dr. Carrie Jones out again from the US, and she's going to be talking about cortisol, norepi, and the endocannabinoid system. And in the US, they're using that more and more. It's actually now being legalized in New Zealand, so hopefully it's not going to be far. So I think this is an important subject that we need to be thinking about, because literally in the next 5 years, we're going to see this huge explosion, I think, in our ability to use CBD. And then I'm going to present some case studies. And then on day 2, Dr. Andrew Rostenberg is going to be presenting via live satellite again. He was one of the highlights of our presentations last year. And I asked him to really tackle a couple of key things that I think were important. For example, we have a thing called the tryptophan steal. And essentially what that means is when you are fighting viruses and bacteria and particularly things that are creating lipopolysaccharides, your serotonin pathway is robbed of tryptophan to support this pathway that deals with the viruses and the lipopolysaccharides. So if you are stealing tryptophan, what is that then doing to serotonin levels? It's reducing them. So he's going to take us through the important elements of that. And the second thing I asked him to look at was tetrabiopterin. So our neurotransmitter recycling is tetrabiopterin is a really important component of that. It can be complicated because there are a lot of things that affect tetrabiopterin and affects the ability of tetrabiopterin being able to be regenerated. So that's a really good topic. Christine Horton, who's just finished her PhD, she's going to be looking at really cellular energetics, redox balance, inflammation, and how that can all contribute to depressive states, and particularly look at nitric oxide, because nitric oxide, for me, is a really interesting subject, but it's one that I don't think is very widely understood. Stephanie, again, is going to look at copper zinc, and I think this is probably one of the most, for me, it's going to be one of the most interesting topics at the summit, because we all know, and I know, that there's a copper zinc imbalance in most of our patients. But why? I keep asking this question, but why? Now, I believe it's a CBS issue. She believes that copper has a huge influence on the CBS pathway. So I'm really interested to see where she's coming out with that. Adenosine. So we're very lucky to have Dr. Detlev Boysen, who's coming out from the US. And he is a major researcher that has looked at methylation and the ketogenic diet. And one of the things that I think we all know that it started with epilepsy, but I've put many patients on a pretty strict ketogenic diet. And what I've noticed is that neurologically, they improve. Sleep often improves, anxiety definitely reduces, and mood increases. So why is that? Well, he believes it's around adenosine. So we're going to be talking about adenosine and how the ketogenic diet affects adenosine, and then we'll have some more case studies. On the Sunday, this is my B12 presentation, so you're all going to have to be up early on Sunday morning to listen to that, because it is an awesome presentation, if I say so myself. Dr. Ben Lynch via live satellite, very exciting. He's going to be giving you all the information about COMT. And he's just written his book, and anyone that comes to the summit, we are giving his book as part of free as part of the summit price. So awesome presentation. And I think because COMT outside MTHFR is one of the most widely talked about genes, I think this is going to be a very, very insightful presentation. And then Dr. Pratt Hyatt, he's going to be presenting via live webinar from the US. And he's going to be looking at the organic acids test. How do we actually make assumptions about what's going on from a neurotransmitter point of view with the organic acids test? Because essentially what they're doing is measuring HVA and VMA, which are metabolites of serotonin and dopamine. It's not actually serotonin and dopamine. So what conclusions can we make if it's high or low? So I think that's, and I'm actually going to be seeing him in the US when I'm there next week for the Chicago Summit.